I grew up outside of Pittsburgh but anyway, yeah, I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, moved to Hagerstown in 1973 because teacher, and I told my father the first offer I get, I'm taking. Because I applied all up and down the East Coast, and Washington County called me first because I interviewed on campus at the college. I was at 4 counties from Maryland, and I went to all 4. And Washington County was the one that called me, and they wanted me to come back here to Hagerstown for a second interview. And they said, we're not here to interview you, we're here to offer you a job. And I just said yes, because I told my father the first offer I get, I'm taking. So that's how I ended up in Hagerstown. That's the way myself and my siblings were raised, to help out in the community, to do whatever you can to help people. If there's a need somewhere, if you have the time, why wouldn't you, help and volunteer and do stuff like that? That's just something we were taught as kids. Right now, I volunteer at the community college on the volunteer corps at the community college. But in my younger years, if it's just somebody calling to ask to help with things, but as the years went on and I got to know people and the community and local things, I got into officiating Little League. So basically back then that was just volunteer. But as time went on, some of the officials who also did organize, like high school, college and stuff like that, they said, why don't you join the organization? So a lot of that time in my younger years until I stopped officiating was doing that, high school, college, softball, baseball, and I just loved officiating. I'd say 90% of Meals on Wheels is delivering meals. That's about 90% of the time. Now, there were times when they would call. I remember one time we were packing groceries when the pandemic started. The regular delivery of meals, because we didn't know how to handle, can we go in houses, stuff like that. But people have to eat. So we were delivering groceries. And there were times they asked the drivers or people at the commission to help pack the groceries. So every now and then, went in to do that. I was doing wellness calls. Same thing, since a driver wasn't showing up every day, but you still have to check on people. So people at the commission and Meals on Wheels, they say, hey, can you help with wellness calls? So got on the phone, just calling up folks, how you doing? You doing okay? Then it went to COVID calls, when that was the big deal, getting people shots. Asking folks, did you have your shot? Do you want a shot? Are you able to get somewhere, or do you need someone to come take you, or is it better for someone to show a health official to go to their home? So that was interesting during COVID, but they welcomed the calls. They thanked you for checking on them, and then we would sit there and talk about different things. So that was kind of interesting. I enjoyed doing that. Find out where young people can be used, because some may want to work with kids and some may want to work with older people, but talk to their pastor, because there's such a need. Until I started doing Meals on Wheels, I didn't realize how many people who are in need just for volunteers, just everything. And for younger people, like I said, matter of fact, a younger person could even call up the Commission on Aging and say, hey, I'm a high school senior, and and I'm interested in just helping out a little bit. Can you they'll take anybody. They'll direct. One young man, well, heck, he's probably in his 40s now, but one guy, when I see him, he always comes up and gives me a hug. He says, Miss Kay, he said, you were, I had him at Greenbrier Elementary, just great. And he said, I will never forget that time you bought me a pair of sneakers. And I'm like, okay. And for the life of me, because I have done that for kids, but this was a big deal for, him. He said, because you always had this thing called sneaker check, and you tried to encourage kids to wear their sneakers to class, and he said, I didn't know if you remember, but he said, we were just poor. He said, but whenever, he said, you had some kind of chart that you earned points and stuff, and you wouldn't make a big deal. You said, and and some of the kids, how would you wear your sneakers? He said, I just couldn't afford them. And he said, one thing I remember, you never made a big deal out of it. You never embarrassed me or questioned where's my sneakers. And I said, don't worry about it. We'll just wear them next time. Just move on to something else. And then, I kind of knew he didn't have. So it was a neighbor that gave me some sneakers. He said, you didn't know any kids who knew these? I said, yeah. And I took him to school, and he was probably one of the kids. There were many times I did that. But he said, that is something I will never forget, because when the kids make fun or made a little comment, you cut them off quickly. Just quickly. Oh, we're not having that. And he said, then one day you brought me these pair of sneakers, and that was the best thing. He said, I will still remember that. He said, I will, even tell my kids to, help people out. If people talk about me, that they remember me as just a person who tried to get along with everybody. Just cool. I just say, they said, that is one person that really didn't have a problem with anybody on this earth.